I was halfway through my second cup of burnt break room coffee when I opened the wrong spreadsheet. It wasn't even hidden, just sitting there in the shared finance folder labeled budget_2021_final_final. I clicked it by accident, looking for last quarter's vendor payments. Instead, what popped up was a salary breakdown, not ranges, not estimates. Real names, real numbers. And my stomach dropped. Jason, the guy I trained last year? He was making $22,000 more than me. Shelley, who still asked me to explain how invoice batching works, was 5 years younger and getting paid almost $15,000 more. Even Brian, lazy-ass Brian who shows up late and disappears for client calls that are just him scrolling his phone in the stairwell, was pulling a higher salary than me by nearly 30%. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I scrolled up and down, thinking maybe I was missing a bonus column or base versus total comp. Nope, just straight up numbers. Right there, and mine, dead last. I'd been with this company for 10 years. 10 years. I was there when we still printed invoices manually. I wrote the template we still use to track freight payments. I trained every single person on that spreadsheet. And I was getting screwed. I stared at my number for a while, like maybe it would change if I looked long enough. Then I shut my laptop slowly, like closing it softer would help keep the rage in. I didn't say a word to anyone. I didn't slam anything or storm out. I just got up, walked to the water cooler, filled my glass, and stared at the wall for a solid minute. People passed me. Someone cracked a joke about the coffee. I laughed. But inside, I was boiling. That spreadsheet sat in my head like a ticking bomb. I knew if I reacted right away, I'd just come off emotional, and I wasn't about to let them write me off as too sensitive. So I went back to my desk, opened a blank document, and started listing everything I'd done for this place, the systems I built, the audits I caught, the money I saved. I even pulled archived emails showing the hours I spent training Jason, Shelley, and Brian. I was going to build my case, and I was going to make it bulletproof. They thought I wouldn't notice. They thought I wouldn't push back. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I didn't knock. I just walked straight into Greg's office and shut the door behind me. He looked up from his monitor, caught off guard. "Hey, Kate, everything okay?" "No," I said, flat. "We need to talk. Right now." He shifted in his chair like he suddenly got uncomfortable. I could see him scanning my face, trying to figure out where this was going. I didn't give him time. I came across a file in the shared drive, one with everyone's salaries on it. Greg's mouth twitched, like maybe he was going to fake a cough or say he hadn't seen it, but I kept going. And I noticed that I'm getting paid significantly less than Jason, Shelley, Brian, pretty much everyone I've trained, everyone with less experience, less responsibility. He leaned back and let out this half-assed sigh, like he was tired of the topic, before it even started. "Kate, compensation varies for a lot of reasons. Market fluctuations, role adjustments, tenure. I have the tenure. I am the market adjustment," I snapped. "I've been here a decade, Greg. I've implemented systems that saved this company 6 figures. I've trained half your team. You don't get to brush me off with vague HR talk." His face stiffened, but he tried to keep it casual. "I understand this is frustrating, but salaries shift over time. New hires often come in with different expectations based on—" "Stop," I said, cutting him off. "Don't insult me. This isn't about expectations. It's about value. Mine's clearly being ignored." He adjusted his glasses and looked down at some imaginary paperwork. "Have you submitted a formal request for a salary review? That's the proper channel." I couldn't believe he said that with a straight face. "A formal request? You mean the same request I submitted last year that HR said they'd circle back on? The one you never followed up on?" Greg looked up but didn't respond, just blinked at me like a deer in headlights. "I want to know, right now, why the people I trained, who still come to me with questions, are making thousands more than me. You signed off on those salaries. Don't pretend you didn't." He rubbed his temple like I was giving him a migraine. "Kate, it's not that simple." "It is," I said. "It's math, numbers. I'm an accountant, Greg. This is literally my job." He didn't say anything for a second, just stared at the desk like it might give him the answer. Finally, he muttered, "Look, I get it. I do." You've done a lot for the company. Maybe it's time to revisit your pay structure. Put something together. I'll take a look. You'll take a look, I repeated. Like I'm handing in an optional project? He nodded, still not meeting my eyes. It's the best I can do right now. I stood up. Then you're not doing enough. He flinched a little, then leaned forward like he wanted to smooth things over. Kate, just don't go blowing this up into something bigger than it needs to be. I opened the door. Too late. I didn't slam it, but I shut it hard enough that he knew I was done talking. Walking back to my desk, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, adrenaline, fury. I felt like I'd been slapped in the face with corporate apathy, like I was supposed to be grateful they let me stay this long, even while they passed out bigger checks to people still learning how to use the damn software I built. Fine. He wanted a report? I'd give him one. But it wasn't going to be a cute little pitch. It was going to be a damn reckoning. I didn't sleep, didn't even try. I went straight home, dropped my bag on the floor, kicked off my shoes, and opened my laptop like I was clocking in for a second shift. My dining table turned into a war room. Notebooks, printed files, sticky notes, my old external hard drive, even a stale energy bar from the back of the drawer. If Greg wanted documentation, I'd bury him in it. I started with the big ones, projects I led, systems I built from scratch. The new freight audit workflow? Mine. Rolled it out in 2019. Saved us over $100,000 that quarter alone. I pulled up the presentation I gave at that all-hands meeting. Still had the slide with projected savings and the company-wide email where Greg himself called it transformational. Then the reconciliation automation I designed. That one cut labor hours by almost 40%. I dug through my old notes, found the email chain where Shelley couldn't figure out how to use the tool. Funny, considering she's now making more than me. Even found a photo from the whiteboard session where I mapped it all out. Me, standing in front, holding a dry erase marker like a damn professor. Next came the audits. I'd caught 2 major billing errors in the past 5 years. One from a carrier that overcharged us by almost $200,000. I flagged it, documented it, and pushed it all the way up to legal. Brian tried to take credit, of course, but I still had the original time-stamped memo with my initials on it. I kept digging. Promotions? Yeah, not mine, but the ones other people got because of my work. I pulled receipts on that too. Project files where I handed off finished systems, the thank you messages they sent, the congratulatory cake emails with my name missing from the sender list. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Every click, every scroll, every drag and drop into that report was a nail in the coffin of whatever excuse they thought they'd use. I opened Excel, created a sheet labeled ROI_KH. I listed every project, every dollar saved, time cut, hours reduced. I tallied the numbers, conservative estimates only, 4.8 million. That's what I found. How much I'd saved this company over 10 years. And I was getting paid like some entry-level data clerk. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about respect. This was about how easy it was for them to overlook the person doing the unglamorous, unsexy work that held everything together. By 2 a.m, I had pulled together everything I'd been informally documenting for years, cleaned it up, organized it into one report, and formatted it professionally. Black and white professional tone. Not emotional, not bitter, just facts. Truth, reality. At 4, I added an appendix. Timeline of my employment. Promotions that never came, reviews that always said exceeds expectations, and bonuses that somehow never exceeded 3%. By 5:30, I was formatting the cover page. Title in bold, 10 years of contribution, a report on undervalued performance in logistics finance. 30 pages, no fluff, just data, impact, and proof. I printed the whole thing on my home printer. 3-hole punched it, slid it into a black binder. It felt like armor. My hands were sore, my eyes burned, and I could hear birds starting outside. But I felt alive. If they wanted a paper trail, I just gave them a damn roadmap to their own failure. I packed the binder into my work bag, zipped it shut, and stood there for a second in the quiet. 10 years of loyalty packed into 30 pages. Tomorrow I was going to war. I walked into the office that morning like it was any other Thursday. Same hallway, Same flickering light above the copier. But this time, I wasn't just clocking in. I was walking in with purpose. The binder sat heavy in my bag. Not just because of the weight, but because of what it meant. I passed Shelley at the coffee station. She gave me a tired smile. I didn't return it. Greg's office door was cracked open. I didn't bother knocking. I pushed it wide, stepped inside, and shut it behind me with one hand. He looked up from his monitor. "Kate, morning." I walked to his desk and placed the binder right in the center. His eyes dropped to it like it had a bomb inside. "What's this?" "My report," I said, sitting down across from him. "Everything you asked for, and a lot of what you didn't." Greg hesitated, then flipped open the cover. He turned a few pages silent. His face tightened. The graphs, the data, the hard math of what 10 years of my work looked like in dollars. "This is thorough," he muttered. "Damn right it is," I said. 10 years worth of systems, audits, savings, and projects. Black and white. "You'll see exactly how much money I've saved this company," he swallowed. "You stayed up all night doing this?" "I stayed up all year doing this," I said. "Because that's how long I've been watching other people get paid more while doing less." Greg leaned back in his chair. His face tried to stay neutral, but he couldn't hide it. He was rattled. "Good. All right, so, what are you asking for?" he said. "I want a salary adjustment," I said, clear and slow. 75,000 base, not negotiable, and a bonus, $10,000, to cover at least part of the gap from the last few years. That's conservative, by the way. I should be asking for more. Greg sat there, blinking. I didn't break eye contact. "Kate, look, I get where you're coming from. This is solid work, really. But a change like that isn't something I can just sign off on." "I'm not asking you to sign it today," I said. "But I want you to take that report to whoever can sign it. And I want it on someone's desk before lunch." He gave a weak chuckle, like he thought joking would soften it. "You're really serious about this." "Do I look like I'm joking?" He stopped smiling, picked up the binder again, and flipped to the appendix. "This kind of report, it's going to raise questions," he said. "People will wonder how we let this slip through the cracks." "Good," I said. "They should wonder." Greg looked up at me again, face tight. "I'll take this to Alan. I'll need to loop in HR, do whatever you have to do. But I want a response by the end of the week. Not a delay, not a 'we're reviewing,' a decision." He nodded slowly. "All right, I hear you." "No," I said, standing. "You finally see me." I turned and walked out before he could say another word. Back at my desk, I opened my inbox and started working like normal. But everything felt different now. The weight wasn't in my bag anymore. It was in his office, sitting on his desk, staring him in the face. And now it was their move. I had just finished reviewing a vendor contract when my phone buzzed. "Hi, Kate. This is Lauren from Greg's office. Your meeting with Alan is confirmed for 3 o'clock today." I leaned back in my chair. "Thanks, I'll be there." I didn't ask what the agenda was. I didn't need a calendar invite. I already knew why I was going. At 2:55, I grabbed the binder from my desk drawer, smoothed my blouse, and walked upstairs. Alan's office was on the top floor. Cleaner carpet, real plants, and glass walls that made everything feel expensive. His assistant Diane smiled as she waved me in. "Go on in. He's expecting you." Alan stood when I walked through the door, polite but obviously confused. "Kate, right? Come on in?" "Greg mentioned you wanted to meet." I shook his hand. Firm, steady. "Yes, thanks for making the time." We both sat. I placed the binder on the table between us. Alan glanced down at it. "What's all this?" "My report," I said. 10 years of contribution to this company, projects I led, systems I created, and money I saved. I think once you read it, you'll understand why I asked for this meeting." He flipped open the cover, eyebrows lifting slightly. All right, I didn't wait for him to read. I opened my own printed copy and started walking him through it. I started here in 2015. Within 2 years, I'd built systems that saved the company hundreds of thousands of dollars and uncovered major billing errors, all documented in the report. Alan didn't interrupt. He just turned the pages, scanning the data as I spoke. On top of that, I trained most of the current finance staff, Jason, Shelley, Brian. I've documented every time I helped them get up to speed on systems they now manage. Alan gave a slight nod. "I see. No promotions, I continued. No merit raises outside standard cost of living bumps. Meanwhile, those I trained are making significantly more. He set the report down. Kate, this is detailed. Very detailed. I'll admit I wasn't aware of any of this. I kept my tone calm. I believe you, but that's part of the problem, isn't it? He blinked, clearly not used to being challenged like that. But he didn't push back. Greg says you're asking for a raise and a retroactive bonus, he said carefully. I am, I replied. But this isn't just about me. I'm asking for a fair and consistent pay review process across the company. This kind of discrepancy shouldn't be hidden in a spreadsheet. People shouldn't find out they're underpaid by accident. He leaned back in his chair, looking up at the ceiling like he needed a second to process. This would take time, he said finally. We'd need HR, legal, probably board involvement. I'm not asking for overnight, I said. I'm asking for action, a real plan, and for someone up here to finally pay attention. Alan exhaled slowly. Well, I'll be honest. This is one of the most prepared internal complaints I've ever seen. You clearly care about the company. I care about fairness, I said, and I'm not interested in lip service. He nodded. All right, let me review this more thoroughly. I'll talk to Greg, bring HR in, and I'll get back to you in a few days. I stood. I appreciate that, but I'm holding you to it. Alan gave a short, tight smile. I figured you would. I left his office the same way I walked in, head high, heart steady. Now the CEO had my report, my numbers, my truth. Let's see what he did with it. By the next morning, the air in the office felt different. It was subtle, but I noticed it right away. People looked up from their desks when I walked in. Conversations got quieter when I passed. No one said anything outright, but I could feel it, the ripple effect. At first, I thought maybe I was being paranoid. But then Shelley brought me a coffee. No note, no explanation. Just left it on my desk like a peace offering. I hadn't spoken a full sentence to her all week. Around 10, I caught Brian at the copier. He gave me a little nod and said, Heard you had a meeting with Alan yesterday. Good for you. I didn't respond. I just stared at him until he turned around and pretended to be fascinated by a jammed paper tray. By lunch, it was obvious the story had spread. Not just that I'd gone to the CEO, but what it was about. My inbox lit up like a damn Christmas tree. Good for you, Kate. About time someone said something. Heard what you did. That took guts. Let me know if you need support. Happy to back you up if they ask around. I deleted most of them. Didn't reply. Every message sounded supportive, but underneath it, I could hear the fear, the curiosity. People weren't cheering me on. They were trying to cover their own asses in case the hammer dropped. In the break room, no one sat next to me. Not in a rude way, just careful. Like I was radioactive. I'd gone from invisible to the center of attention overnight. Greg didn't look at me all day. He walked right past my desk twice without a glance. Fine by me. I wasn't interested in another half-assed apology or a hang-in-there speech. Still, by mid-afternoon, I couldn't shake the discomfort. The stares, the whispers, the sugar-coated messages. It all felt like a spotlight, and not the flattering kind. I started to wonder, had I gone too far? Then I reminded myself, no, I hadn't. This wasn't about burning bridges. This was about building a damn foundation. One that didn't cave under ego and excuses. Just before 5, my phone rang. Diane's number. Kate, Alan needs to see you. Now. He asked that you come up right away. No explanation, no time offered. Just now. I grabbed my binder even though he'd already seen it. Habit at this point. I walked through the office, eyes on me again, but this time I didn't care. If they were going to watch, let them watch. Back up to the glass floor hallway. Same expensive carpet, same heavy silence. Diane gave me a small nod as I walked past her desk. The kind of look that said, something's coming. I reached the door, raised my hand to knock. I didn't know what was waiting behind it, but I knew I was ready for it. I knocked once and pushed the door open. Alan was already sitting at the conference table, flanked by 2 people I'd only ever seen in board meeting photos. CFO Matt Sweeney and Denise, the head of HR, not a casual check-in. This was a lineup. Kate, Alan said, giving a small nod. Come in, have a seat. I closed the door behind me and walked over slowly, calm, focused. My binder stayed in my hands until I sat down. They had theirs on the table already. Leather portfolios, manila folders, the works. No one said anything for a beat. Then Alan cleared his throat. We've reviewed your report thoroughly. First off, let me say, it's impressive. And long overdue. Denise chimed in with that overly polished HR tone. It really highlights your value, Kate. There's no denying the impact you've had on the company. Matt gave a small nod, arms crossed. You've done exceptional work. I waited. Because compliments always came before the conditions. Alan slid a crisp folder toward me. We want to offer you a new compensation package. $75,000 base, effective immediately, plus a $10,000 bonus, retroactive for the past year. He paused, watched my face, then added, and a promotion. Senior Financial Director. Full title and responsibilities. I didn't say anything, just looked down at the folder in front of me. One sheet, thick paper, printed signature lines already filled in. Too clean, too fast. And, Denise said, a little too sweetly, there's a confidentiality clause included. Standard NDA language. It just protects all parties and ensures internal data, like salary information, doesn't continue to circulate. There it was. I looked at her, then at Alan, then back to the folder. My name, typed and bolded across the top. It looked like a dream offer, more money, a title bump, and recognition. But the silence said everything. No apology, no systemic changes. Just a golden bandage. Alan folded his hands. We understand this has been frustrating. This package is our way of acknowledging your contributions, without further disruption to the company. Without disruption. That was the whole point, wasn't it? I ran my thumb along the edge of the paper. My signature line weighted, neat and centered. I could have signed, taken the win, walked out a newly minted director, but I wasn't here to be bought. I looked up. This isn't enough. Alan blinked. Excuse me? You're offering me money and a title, so I'll keep my mouth shut. You're not addressing the core problem. You're burying it. Matt leaned forward. Kate, we're offering a fair correction. You brought this to us, we acted quickly, and no, I cut in. You're offering damage control. That NDA isn't standard. It's a muzzle. Denise shifted in her chair. We're simply trying to protect company integrity. Integrity doesn't need protection if there's nothing to hide, I said. Silence hit the table like a dropped weight. Alan exhaled slowly. Kate, let's be reasonable. I am being reasonable, I said. I asked for fair pay. I asked for a company-wide review process so this doesn't keep happening. This question mark? I tapped the folder. This is hush money wrapped in a promotion. Nobody moved. I stood up, slow and controlled. I'm not signing anything. I'm not taking your offer unless it includes a commitment to real transparency. A review of all compensation across departments. Clear, published pay bands. Fair evaluations. Matt rubbed his forehead, like this meeting just got way more complicated. Alan tried to keep his voice steady. Kate, if this becomes public, then maybe it should, I said. Because I guarantee I'm not the only one who's been underpaid and overlooked. Denise's lips tightened, but she stayed quiet. Alan looked at her, then at Matt. No one had a comeback. I closed the folder and pushed it back across the table. You came prepared, Alan said finally, voice low. I always do, I said. The difference is now, you see me. Then I turned and walked out, not angry, not emotional. Just done letting people act like silence was the same thing as resolution. I walked straight out of that glass-walled conference room, got in my car, and drove home in silence. Not angry, not crying, just laser-focused. They thought that offer would shut me up, dress it up with a title and a bonus, and hope I'd take the bait. They had no idea how far I was willing to go. The second I got inside, I opened my laptop, pulled up the resignation letter I'd already drafted weeks ago, and started editing. I took my time. The tone was clean, professional, no rants, no swipes, just the truth. After 10 years of dedication, innovation, and measurable financial impact, I can no longer remain with a company that refuses to correct systemic pay disparities. I didn't stop there. I attached the same 30-page binder, but this version included a new appendix. Department-wide pay gaps. I'd done the math. I'd used public LinkedIn job histories, internal memos, employee referrals, even snippets from public Glassdoor reviews. I'd mapped out patterns, salary jumps that didn't match experience, men getting higher starting pay than equally qualified women, newer hires with inflated compensation while long-timers were left behind. I backed every number with receipts. Then I opened my email and added the recipients: Alan, Greg, Denise, Matt, and every board member listed on our internal portal. I CC'd myself, BCC'd a personal account, just in case they tried to delete it. Before I hit send, I attached one more PDF, a formal complaint already submitted to a respected industry watchdog group, the kind that loves public accountability. No warning, no bluff, just action. I stared at the screen for a second. My hand didn't shake. Then I hit send. And just like that, it was out of my hands. Finally. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. No more internal fighting. No more begging for recognition from people who'd already made it clear what I was worth to them. And I wasn't finished. I picked up my phone and called Nikki, my former co-worker who left last year for a logistics competitor across town. She'd texted me last week when rumors of my report started leaking. She answered on the second ring. "Kate," she said, "I was hoping you'd call." "You guys still hiring?" She laughed. "For you? Always. We've got an opening for finance operations lead. It's senior level, full autonomy, and we don't screw people over." "Let's set something up," I said. "I'm ready." We locked in an interview for Friday. I hung up, went back to my desk, and closed my company laptop for the last time. Then I packed it neatly into the return box and slapped the shipping label on. The weight that left my chest when I sealed that box, it was unreal. Not because I was walking away from a job, but because I'd stopped waiting for someone else to fix what I already knew was broken. They wanted quiet. They got a storm instead. 2 days after I sent the email, it hit the press. Not by me. Maybe someone in HR, maybe another underpaid analyst. I didn't ask and I didn't care. All I know is, one morning I woke up and saw the headline: Finance whistleblower exposes pay inequality at regional logistics firm. My old company's name was right there, bold and unmissable, along with a quote from my report and a mention of a decade-long contributor resigning over internal silence and NDA pressure. The fallout was fast. Alan stepped down by the end of that week. Personal reasons, according to the internal memo. HR leadership was restructured. Greg stopped showing up. Then an outside audit firm was hired. That's when more employees started coming forward. People who'd stayed quiet for years suddenly found their voice. One anonymous post from a junior analyst read, "She did what the rest of us were too afraid to." Thank you, Kate. That one hit me, harder than I expected. Meanwhile, I started my new job that same Monday. Clean desk, no politics, no tension, and no one pretending I wasn't in the room. Nikki introduced me to the team, and within 2 hours, I was already sitting in on high-level budget talks. No waiting for approval, no layers of red tape, just trust. By the end of my first week, the VP of Finance called me into his office. I thought maybe I'd missed something or stepped on someone's toes. Instead, he said, "I read your analysis before you came in. You've got sharp instincts and serious guts. We're lucky to have you." I didn't know what to say. So I just nodded and said, "Appreciate it. I'm ready to get to work." And I was. The exhaustion from the past few weeks hadn't disappeared, but underneath it, I felt something steadier. Clarity. I didn't burn a bridge. I walked away from one that was already crumbling. I'd been scared, sure. Who wouldn't be? But choosing to stand up, to speak up, that wasn't just the hardest thing I've ever done. It was also the smartest. Because finally, I was somewhere that didn't just see me. They listened.